17 question mark 24. 24 and what? Someone said, I see a lot of people are new here. Someone said, first of all, y'all, the firstborn is not his biologically, but he raised her as his own.
Yeah, that's my child.
Of course. Wait, what? They said, so we're not going to act like he wasn't a pedophile and she was a child? They should really explain this better.
Hey guys.
What's going on?
Welcome back. Because we got the tea.
We got the tea.
Spill, and y'all going to drink it. I'm ready to get down.
We're ready to get into the nitty gritty. I was just reading some of the comments from our recent video that we produce everywhere and published everywhere. TikTok.
And I just want to say amazing.
Instagram.
Amazing comments.
YouTube.
You bless me.
Facebook. It was great comments. But it made me like stand back and say like, wow, I didn't realize it was a lot of new people here. I thought that they knew that. I thought they just knew what it was. Like,
they knew the history.
I like just a snippet. I feel like I'm very transparent with sharing the history.
Well, I think we got to keep sharing.
I think that's exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go ahead and get into it tonight. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go ahead and spill some tea like Antwan already said.
Yeah, let's spill this tea so y'all gain a better understanding on Samvia and Antwan.
Right. So I want to get into the nitty gritty really quick to let y'all know I don't want to go ahead and hold you up any longer than you need to be held up. No, I did not meet Antwan at 15 or 16, at 17. I didn't meet Antwan until I was 20. Okay. When I met Antwan, Lisa was 2 years old. I had Lisa in March, so I was 17, but I was turning 18 in September. Okay. So I was 17 and a half. Are you getting it?
They getting it. I think they can add.
They can add?
I think they should be able to add.
Okay.
If not, it's calculators on their phone.
Right. And then we said we 15 years together, like 15 years ago. I'll be 35 this year.
Well, maybe they can't subtract. They can add, but can't subtract.
So if it was 15 years to 15 years together, right? We've been married 8 years, 15 years together. If I'll be 35 this year, 15, let's subtract 15 from 35, 20. Are we following here? Like this is basic math, but I get it. Maybe a lot of those who are commenting are not the day one.
That's just trolling. That's called trolling.
That's
called trolling. That's what it is.
It is what it is. But I wanted to just clarify that. I thank you guys for the comments. It was a lot of judgment, but listen, they judged Jesus,
right, they posted Joseph,
the Messiah, okay, the Son of God, okay, the only living God who has ever walked the face of this earth. So if y'all judged him, y'all can judge us. It's no problem at all. Right. But I just wanted to clarify that I did not meet my husband or boyfriend at that time at 17. No, he wasn't like a pedophile or anything like that. Antwan was 27 when I met him. I'm over here giving like
I'm just
specifics.
making sure you get the numbers down.
Oh, I know the numbers. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to get into that. But I wanted to turn this into a story time because it was very significant when Antwan met Lisa. Mm-hmm. So I was at that time. Let me put this down because I'm not going to be able to drink it.
You gotta give him a little synopsis.
I have to, because at that time I was one of those girls, and I said this in my previous video, but I'm going to bring y'all up to speed because a lot of you may not have saw that video. I was not out there, just out there, and oh wow, she became a teenage parent. No, that's not what it was. You have to. I'm going to link the video to my testimony so you guys can go and watch that video because it's so significant, and where I actually break down what it was. But I'm going to give you a small snippet of it. I was not one of those girls who was just out there. I came from a very dysfunctional household, very toxic, and it was filled with so much trauma. I was abused as a child, physically. So I knew, and emotionally. So I knew that I needed to get the hell out of my household. But the only way that I could get out of my household was by graduating high school and going to college. And while I was in high school, I met a boy. And my girlfriends and stuff at the time, we were like, oh, and I was just not really into like getting boyfriends and stuff like that because I literally was on a mission. I had to leave my household because it was toxic, right? So that was my mission, but I didn't really know where I was going, and I know that God did. And so I was always that type of girl who said I would never ever be a teenage mother. I wasn't out there just having sex and having sex unprotected. I wasn't. I met a guy who I eventually was like, all right, come on, we can kind of date and do those things, but that wasn't my intention going into high school. And the boy happened to be my boyfriend, and I was like, oh, okay. And something turned in from nothing, and I thought like, okay, we're going to be high school sweethearts, and this is going to last for the rest of my life. And we met in high school, and it was great. It was no, it wasn't like that. And I got pregnant with Lisa after I graduated from high school. I found out 2 weeks after graduation that I was pregnant. I was on my way to college, and I found out that I was pregnant. So it was literally at that crossing road where I had to make a decision. Do I get an abortion, or do I keep this child and not start school, not go to a 4-year college away? And at that time, I had to make a decision. I was single at the time. I wasn't with him anymore. He was 2 years older than me, so I was in ninth grade. He was in 11th grade when we met. And once I graduated school at 11th grade, he was already in college. Mm-hmm. So I had to make the decision. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do? Am I going to go ahead and keep this baby or get an abortion? Mm-hmm. And I had an encounter with God at the abortion clinic in 2007. And God told me to trust him. That's it. He didn't tell me don't do it. He didn't say have the abortion. He didn't say anything. He just said, trust me. Mm. And at that moment, I put all of my stuff back on. I was in the triage rooms. I was down to my gown. I put all of my clothes back on and left and ran out of there and never looked back. And here we are 17 years later, and I have a 17-year-old daughter. So I say all of those things just to give you a snippet of that, to give you some kind of clarity and some kind of backstory so that you understand. So Lisa, at that moment when I met my husband, she had a relationship with her father. Right. It was in and out relationship. But him and we finally split when Lisa was about, I would say 3 months old. We split. But that relationship was like an on and off relationship where like it was domestic violence. So we used to thump it out a lot. Okay. He was physically and emotionally abusive, but I came from an abusive household. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to keep getting my tail whipped. Like I'm going to learn how to fight back. So we used to be thumping. So it wasn't always he was just whooping my behind because I was thumping back. So, but we finally like broke it off. And we were like, you know what? It was bad. You know what I mean? That was early, I would say late 2010. Lisa was 2. And at that moment, I was like, I'm just going to be single because I just didn't want that type of dysfunction. I didn't want to bring in another man into my life or even into Lisa's life. Mm-hmm. I never wanted that. I never wanted like stepdaddy, play daddy, take care of me and my daughter type of thing. I never wanted that. Mm-hmm. I seen other women do that. And at that time, I just wanted something so different for my life. And so Lisa never met any other man. And then I remember one night I prayed and my girlfriend was like, you're going to stay single. Like at that moment, I was probably single for like 4 months. And she was like, you're going to stay single because you don't put yourself out there. And I was like, all right. And then she was like, I got a house party. You should come. And I was like, I don't know.
Don't let her. This part of the story is where we're going to.
I won't tell him about the house party.
She said she met me.
I won't tell him about the house party.
She saw my back. I was doing some pull-ups though. Back would have been crazy though.
The story is very unique. I'm going to have to tell y'all the story. I was trying to get through without telling y'all the story. But she said, you should come. And I was like, I don't really know. I'll think about it. So then I remember praying and I was like, Lord, I was single. I had a 2-year-old daughter. I was a college student, broke college student, had no money. Like I could barely pay the rent. I had a brand new car that I couldn't afford. I was broke. Okay. And I was just like, Lord, I pray that the next man that I meet, he will be my husband. And I remember saying that I was in the kitchen and I just prayed. I said, God, I pray that the next man I meet, he will be my husband. I pray that he will love me. But not only will he love me, he will love my 2-year-old daughter. I said, Lord, I pray that he's tall. I pray that he's dark, and I pray that he's handsome. At that point, I wasn't dating any black men. Like, that's so crazy. Like, I didn't date black men. I was into like Hispanics and stuff like that. So I didn't. So it was like different for me. And I was like tall, dark, and handsome. And I was like, and you know what? I'm gonna have his first son. And I ended the prayer. And that night we went to the party. And I was in the party. It was, it is what it is. And at the end of the night, she asked me, did I see anyone? And I was like, no, I didn't see anyone. And so I remembered that I did see someone.
That's the part I don't understand.
But listen, I did see someone. And it was like at one point throughout the night, now the party probably was like, 5-6 hours. It was one time throughout that night that this man walked in. He was tall, he was dark. Never saw his face. I kind of seen his side, and then I seen his back because he was standing there. But I can tell you everything he had on, right? And he was over there and he was mixing and mingling. I was sitting on the couch like here, and then it was like the doorway was over there, right? And so he walks in, you guys, and he goes and he's mixing and mingling with everybody over there. And I'm sitting like on the couch and everybody is over here and we like sipping. But I got my eye on this person who just walked in.
You know how the fly guys do it. You walk in.
You was definitely trying to act like a fly guy.
I wasn't acting.
You wasn't.
Crazy. The act is crazy on it.
I guess you had it.
I had it.
Y'all, I was like, so I'm getting my like liquid like courage going on. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like literally, because the way the couch was, you sunk in the couch. So I'm like getting myself like, because baby was fly. So I was like, ooh, nice. So I'm trying to sip my drink so that I can get up. Yes, I was drinking and I wasn't 21. But yes, I was like trying to get up and I was like, yeah, because I'm about to go say something. Didn't even tell her because she was, my friend girlfriend was doing her own thing. And about time I drank my drink and looked over.
I was gone.
He was gone. And it was like, what in the world?
I got things to do.
So the rest of the night went and I danced and had fun the rest of the night. Had my liquid courage going on. And so when she asked me, did you see anybody? And I was like, no. And then I remembered I did see this guy. And she was like, what guy? And I explained to her who I saw. And I said, he was tall, he was dark. He had on a tan, like, Coogi jacket. He had on some jeans. He had on some polo boots. And I was explaining everything he had on. She was like, I ain't seen anybody like that. What are you talking about? And I'm like, girl, I seen him. I'm telling you. And she was, I didn't see anybody like that. And I'm like, you wasn't looking. Your back was turned. And she was like, all right. And I was like, well, whatever. I missed him. I kind of was like, I missed him. If I had just gotten up and if he would have saw me, I just know like only if he saw me. And it was that kind of feeling. I promise you, I was just like, ugh.
When you did the saw me,
I needed you to see me. Like,
you know how you watch a movie and in that one part, I was right there with you.
I just needed you to see me. I knew you would have been like, oh, my wife.
It's a viewer right now that just leaned in when you did that.
Like, I just needed him to see me. I was fly. I think I'm fly now.
Yo, watch
15 years ago?
In the comments right now, put down the muscle sign. Put something. When she did this, did you feel it? Let me know when you...
Y'all. So I was like, oh man, I missed them. God, you sent them and I missed them. So I went home that night. She dropped me off, whatever. Next morning, she comes over my house. She's like, girl, I know who you was talking about. I said, how you know who I was talking about? You didn't even see him. I didn't see him. She was like, and I got his number for you. I said, whose number do you have? You didn't even see the man. I didn't see him. And she was like, just call him. He told me to tell you to call him. And I'm like, nah, B. Like, I'm just like, I'm good. I literally got to finish up this semester. I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not interested. She said, that's why you're going to stay single. And she said, just call. I said, okay. So I'm like, you going to text him with me? So we over here, we texting you. texting you and we playing. We both texting you back and forth. I gave him a different name. I told him my name was. You remember what I told him my name was?
London.
London. My name was London. I told him I was a different age. I told him I didn't I'm like, I don't know this guy. I was new to town because I had moved away to go to college in Albany, New York from Yonkers, New York. So I kind of was like, I'm not from here. Like, I'm good. I'm good. So we start talking and I mean, we hit it off in the text message. And he was like, let's go out tonight. And I'm like, tonight? And he was like, yeah, like you invited me. He don't remember, but he was inviting me to go out that night to the Standard.
I remember that.
The Standard in Albany. He was like, come with me, come out to the Standard. Like, let's go to the Standard. And I was like, I don't know. Now, I couldn't go to the Standard because I had told him I was 22 and I was really only 20. So I didn't have ID to get into these places that need.
So the thing is, she didn't know who she was rolling with. We just walking in.
I was like, oh man, no, I'm just kidding. Really like just playing with him like I'm good.
I'm letting you do this. This is your show. This is your show. I'm gonna sit back. I wish I had some tea.
You might as well I didn't sip it yet. When I tell you, I was like, okay, I can't. Like, so he was like, all right, we'll go out tomorrow. So the next day was Sunday. So I was like, all right, cool. We'll go out tomorrow. My girlfriend was like, man, he is parched. We finally went out on the next day, which was Sunday. We met and I was scared to meet him because I was just like, what am I going to say? Like, he's older. Like, you know what I mean? What am I going to do? Like, what am I going to say? And my girlfriend was like, come on and just stop. So I was like, can you come with me? She's like, I'm not going with you. I'm not going to be the third wheel. And I'm like, please just come with me. I don't really know him. Like, I'm scared. Like, please. And she was like, fine, I'm going to come. I'm staying for 5 minutes and then I'll leave.
You still scared?
Terrible. So we got there, we hit it off. We was there at the bar. We went to a bar. We met at a bar. They didn't ask my ID. So I was like, I felt, I'm good. And we stayed there for about 6 to 7 hours, literally until the lights was going off. Antwan didn't drink. So I was like, ooh, he don't drink, y'all. Like, okay. And so we just chilled there and we talked the entire time. I ordered a glass of Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And then I went to the bathroom and I left my drink there. And then because I didn't want to take it to the bathroom with me. And so I came back and I was like, man, I know I shouldn't drink this. And I was just sitting there. And then I went to go reach for it. And he was like, you should never do that. And I said, do what? He was like, you should never leave your drink like that. I said, my God, this man just poisoned me.
I wouldn't have told you though.
I know. I was like, he done poisoned me now. So y'all, we stayed there. Then he was like, would you like to go to Denny's? So I was like, yeah, let's go. So we went to Denny's from there, you guys. And when I tell you, we just hit it off. It felt like we were together.
She took me home that night.
No, I didn't.
I
would have invited him if he was willing to go. But
I went to work. I had to go to work.
You wasn't willing to go. We went to Denny's and we had a good time at Denny's. And you ordered your food. Like Denny's was his spot.
Everywhere's my spot.
Denny's is his spot. So when you go someplace, sometimes you just don't know what to order. So I order what? Breakfast food. He gonna order some kind of sizzling shrimp and fish tilapia stuff. And I'm like, what in the world? So when his food came, like, listen how it was. When his food came, I was like, oh, that looked good. Me with my fork and his plate. He was like, what are you doing?
See, that's that only child stuff.
I was like, this man is selfish.
I don't gotta share, so.
And at that point, I
can't be selfish if I told you to get whatever you want.
It don't matter. he said get whatever you want. How much stuff you gonna get at Denny's?
Whatever you want.
I ordered me a $15 meal at Denny's. It's breakfast. I don't know what to do. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, what else am I supposed to order? He ordered this whole fine sway stuff. His food was so good. And then I was like, let me get some. And you was like, why you could have ordered yours. I was like, nah, man, this guy is selfish. I said
that was the only thing you didn't like. So was I really selfish?
No, because you paid the bill. It wasn't that 50-50 kind of stuff.
Let's not talk about that night. Throughout that time.
No.
Oh, okay.
You was very I messed up that word before, but like
giving. Willing.
Chivalry? Like what is that?
What's chivalry?
I'm gonna look it up because I have to. It's like very like giving.
Well, we can't just use giving.
Okay, because I want to know the word real quick. Like, what's the word, y'all?
Somebody probably knows.
I
Because there's somebody leaning in their seats right now.
Chivalry.
But what is it?
Chivalry.
Willing to
chivalry.
give?
It's like generous,
What is?
courteous, very
Oh.
courteous. Someone who, like, yeah, courteous.
She,
Okay, so that is the word.
she ain't
Okay.
never met a top flight security guard.
Oh, the world, Craig. So I was like, I just believe, like, oh man, like we just hit it off, so it was good. But I say all of that, y'all. We're not gonna talk about the first date, but that was the first date. Um, the point of it is that we literally hit it off. And after that, we kind of was like thinking about making it serious. Like we was on date after date after date. We were always together.
Traveling.
And I know you guys are probably like, where was your 2-year-old? I was in college. So my 2-year-old was either going down to the city with my mom. My mother would watch her for like half the week, so that because she wasn't in daycare. So she would go watch her half the week. And then I'll go get my child when I wasn't working and stuff like that. And that's how it was. And then she will either go with her biological father. My mother and her biological father lived on the same street at the time. So Lisa would go back and forth to their house during the time that she was in the city while I was back in college in Albany. And that's just how it was. So I kind of was spending that time with you, but then Christmas time was coming up. So Lisa was coming back home with me. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? I don't know if I want her to meet him. And it was like 3 weeks at that time that we have been talking and
Right.
dating. So I was like, man, I just don't know. But what else was I going to do? We was going to spend part of Christmas together. So I was just like, I don't know. And so I was just really scared. And I just had the mindset that I didn't want him to play stepdaddy to Lisa.
So what happened was I came over and I think I fell asleep in the chair. And I woke up and Lisa was sitting in the chair with me. And you must have was cooking us. You wasn't in the living room at the time. Where you was at?
I felt like you had, but before you fell asleep, you just didn't come and fall asleep. Like
I think she was already taking a nap because the only people was up was your mother.
Okay, so I think I'm putting it together. What probably happened is Lisa probably went to sleep. You came over, spent the night, and in the morning she woke up. Right.
Right.
So that's probably what it was.
Right.
Because everyone would come up to my apartment during Christmas time. So yeah, that's when my mother and them came up and brought Lisa back home to me. You're right. So then at that time, like I kind of was like, what is it? So you're saying that you were sleeping and
I was
Lisa
sleeping. I dozed off in the chair, and then she must have woke up and she was sitting in the chair with me.
Yeah.
And now we've just been cool ever since.
Right. And so I remember, like, I never wanted Lisa to call you daddy. Like, I never wanted her to call, because she had a father. Like, you know what I mean? And I kind of didn't want to even impose that responsibility on you. But I was always that type, like, you wasn't going to not acknowledge my child. You know what I mean? But, like, I'm not forcing it on you. But I don't need you to be stepdaddy, but you're not going to not acknowledge my child. You're not going to deal with me and not.
But you ain't had to do all that. So let's look. See now she.
What you mean?
She didn't have to do that. The thing was is that I think you probably was more protective, but you didn't know how I was with kids.
No, I didn't.
So
you didn't have any kids.
Yeah, I ain't have any kids, but my line of work prior up to that is all I did was work with kids.
Right, but I didn't know that.
I know. So that's why I say you was protective.
Yeah.
So. And I get it because, like my mom told me that before. She was like, that's the same thing I was with you with other men, even though that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, please.
It's a whole other story. But I'm just saying, but it's the same concept. Some women oppose it, that you're going to be the stepdaddy, and some women don't. It's either or. It's not an in-between thing. So with me, I just felt like you didn't have to force it, nothing. Right. You didn't have to worry about if I was going to be generous just to you and not your daughter. That don't make sense to me. That, I mean, I'm not saying that I gotta fit the bill, but if we all going out to eat, you ain't paying for her, I'm gonna pay for everybody.
Yeah.
Or if I'm at the store and I see something, I see a coloring book, yeah, we're gonna color today.
Yeah.
And so I'm always interactive. I was always involved with Lisa. Me and Lisa was cool. Remember, I got Lisa count to 20.
Right. I mean, you just I think that you really came into the relationship, and the moment that you met Lisa, you kind of just you went right into place. And it wasn't something that I forced them into. to me, it, like you said, it was something that you were already like, I don't know. I think that you were already willing and you had a desire like to fit in. I don't know.
I think that's just that's just a God. That's God.
That
It
was
was God
God. That
because
was
you could have
truly
been
God.
because you could have met anyone else. You could
Absolutely.
meet people that don't care. It's people that got. I mean, even good guys. Good guys go through it because sometimes the kid got a father. You ain't my father. You can't tell me what to do.
Right.
Or some guys that walk into a relationship like I'm not taking care of that kid. That's
Right.
not my child. I'm here for you, and that's it.
Right.
But to me, I just don't think that you do that to kids. And as being a parent of a kid that isn't yours or a parent that is the parents, the full-blooded parent, is that you can't tell no kid to be disrespected to a man that's walking or a woman that's walking into the house because that's not right. That's still an adult. You can't. That's like a teacher. You can't have no kid disrespecting a teacher.
Right.
So what's the difference between somebody that live with you that's paying the bills and here doing everything else in the household? So
it's just that you shouldn't have a kid disrespecting an adult
at
anyway.
all,
Yeah, at all. But I think that so many people say like, wow, they're so amazed that Antwan, you really like don't treat Lisa any differently than you do our other kids, and you never have. Like, I think that one thing is that he's never like physically disciplined Lisa, but you'll physically discipline your like our other kids. You know what I mean? Like, you will do it. But I have to say, like, for me, like, Lisa was my oldest, so I was very much that type of child from coming from my childhood. I wasn't like the spanking type of parent. Some kids can just be talked to, and I have some of them, but some of them need spankings. But Lisa was that type of kid that she just didn't need physical discipline. She just needed a talk. You really can talk to Lisa, and Lisa's like, I did something wrong. Yeah. And then she's fine. But I feel like you've never not treated her like yours, even walking into her life at 2 years old. So when people say like, "Oh my goodness, I thought she was his," and it's like, she is his.
Oh yeah, she's my child.
She's
is my
his.
child. I've been there since she was 2. So it's like there's no discredit to no one else, like her father, but that's my child. So it's like whatever, however you want to say it. If you could think it, or you could say that's not your child, or whatever you want to say. I'm the one that fit the bill. I'm the one that's there. So
for 15 years, she's 17. So for 15 years, you fit the bill, like
15 birthdays,
15, literally.
Fit 3 transitions, baby 5, high school. I mean junior high school. So like elementary, I'm there. So it's like sweet 16, I'm there. When she get married, I'm gonna be there. And so it's like nobody can take that away from me. Like nobody, no man, no individual can take that from me. So it is what it is.
And I appreciate that. And I think that a lot of women are coming from, because of course it's a lot of women commenting, like, I love my sisters, but it's a lot of
saying what?
They're just so like, oh, she was a child when you met her. Why did somebody said, oh, well, now I can tell why she's been praying for so many years. And it's just like, man, the ignorance is so high. Like, the ignorance is embarrassing.
So the definition of ignorance is not knowing. So some people don't understand. So
I don't believe that all the time. But go ahead.
But the reason why I say that is because if you haven't, regardless of how your age, you could be 45, 15, regardless of your age, I feel like people, if you haven't dealt with or haven't given grace or haven't somebody ever love on you the way that we are loving each other, or been through trials and tribulations the way that we've been through trials and tribulations, the people outside looking in is always going to be able to say something. So the ignorance is like, you don't know this situation. You don't know where we've been through. We don't know where we came from. So they supposed to troll. They supposed to not know. They supposed to second guess. They supposed to act ignorant. Because if you don't know, how we get this platform so we can be able to tell them so they can know.
Right.
So they still gonna always, even after the platform, they still gonna say what they want to say.
Yeah. So then it's not out of just ignorance. To me, it's out of it's out of judgment. You're casting your judgment, in which I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, engage, baby. I appreciate the engagement. Even if you don't like something, like, you engage, you watch, that counts as the watch time. But as a nation, we watch things like Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl thing and be like, oh yeah, black people, and then it's usually black people who tear other black people down before any other race can tear us down. is black women.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they be like, the black woman, she's treated the worst, but she's treated the worst from other black women.
Mm-hmm.
So like, eat your words. Like, you know what I mean? If you're gonna talk your talk, walk the walk too.
But a lot of people ain't putting their stuff on Front Street either. Like the women that's gonna talk, because they're not gonna put their self on Front Street. God gave you a platform and a gift to be able to go through so many different trials and tribulations. Like,
right.
I met you, you was 20, you had a 2-year-old daughter, never looked different. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, we had our ups and downs. We had a lot of them. You know, those things have come out, and then we have to address that too. So,
right.
whatever it is, let them say what they got to say, because they ain't got to do that but make us sit right back here and say, hey,
Yeah.
life be life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for doing this video with me. I know we were literally onto something else, but I felt that it was timely that this needed to come out, that we needed to be transparent, to just get into it and like let people know. I think that I know that God has sent you in my life and it just clicked. You know, like sometimes people say, how do you know it was God? How do you know? When it's God, it clicks. Now that don't mean it's not going to be tested.
It ain't perfect.
It's not going to be perfect. That doesn't mean that you're not going to experience trials and tribulations. That doesn't mean that the enemy is not going to try to sift you as wheat. The enemy is going to come in because he waits around for a more opportune time. Okay? He walks about like a roaring lion seeking who he can devour. So no, just because it's God sent, that doesn't mean it's not going to be tested. So when Antwan, you were sent into my life, I know it was God sent. Now, have we been tested? 15 years we've been tested.
Yeah, marriage ain't easy. Marriage ain't for no punk. So,
Mm-mm.
and it's you. And the other thing about being married is that it ain't no running. Like when you boyfriend and girlfriend, you can figure out where you're going. You like, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to do this and the third. But being married, you can't do that. So it's different. The 15 years, the 8 years that we was boyfriend and girlfriend off and on, it's totally different than being married. I got to deal with everything that my wife went through prior to my relationship, the 8 years, understanding, trying to figure out where did it go wrong so I don't go wrong. It's not, marriage ain't for no punks.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that been married for a significant amount of time could tell you that
right.
it's gonna be trials and tribulations. There's gonna be more rainy days than sun. So
Amen. Thank you for being transparent and sharing that.
mm,
I have one question before we end this video. Can you tell me, like, why was it easy for you to accept someone else's child, like to raise another man's child? Because a lot of men are not doing that. So when
because
they hold on,
I thought you was ready, cause you know I'm ready to go.
it's a loaded question. Forgive me.
Uh,
A lot of men are not doing that. So I want to give you your flowers publicly because you know I always give you your flowers anyway. But Antwan, you are such a gem. Like people ain't doing it. Like people are not taking other people's kids in. They're not doing that. You see it mostly. If they are doing that, you see mothers doing that, wives doing that. But you don't see men taking in other men's children. Now, granted, it was only one child, but it was still somebody else's child.
you gotta deal with two people.
You gotta deal with two people, and I will tell you that it wasn't always peaches and glory. Like you went through things. A couple. As soon as you met him, we got stories for days, y'all. You had some baby daddy drama. I will say it, but it's never stopped you and be like, man, forget this stuff. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So can you share with the people and share with me, like, why was you so willing to take care of another man's child?
So it's so easy to turn your back on a situation. So like I told you, if y'all don't know, my father wasn't in my life. My mother boyfriends wasn't in my life. So for me, and then I also worked with kids. So I worked with kids since I was 16. So to understand like the dynamics of you going through it as a child, as a kid, and then seeing kids go through it as like that I'm working with, it's not to me it's not an easy thing just to turn your back on a kid. If you're walking into a situation and kids are going through, like, to be real with you, when Lisa got older, around 12, 13, 14, 15, having those conversations with Lisa about her dad and seeing Lisa cry, I knew that I was there for that because nobody else could you don't have that part in your life that you had a father that wasn't around or didn't do what he wanted. We're not gonna say that your father was the best, but he was still there.
He was very much present.
He was present. So the thing is that when you have another man walk into your house and that's not that kid's father, and the first thing that kid feels is like, where's my dad at? Why is my dad not walking through this door?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you gonna do? What are you gonna do for me to make me feel wanted? Because so my mom is going to deal with you, but where do I fit in that?
Right.
So I don't ever want at least not to feel like she ain't fit.
Mm.
So that's the thing. You don't want kids to. I don't care how many kids we have.
Right.
We have 15 kids, and Lisa never feel like she's not part of that 15.
Right.
So that's the thing, because kids will feel like they not fit, and then once they feel like they not fit, especially girls, they find themselves in this wilderness doing other things that they're not supposed to do because they're not properly loved.
Right.
But men do too. They run the street. We find places to be where we not find where we shouldn't be, but we just a tad bit stronger.
Yeah.
But with women, with little girls, they'll attach themselves to the wrong thing,
right.
And that wrong thing could take them further than they. I keep stuttering. Then they should go.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem. That's why that was my thing. It didn't matter if Lisa was a boy or a girl, but Lisa became who Lisa was, and Lisa was who she is. But I had to make sure that she felt fit.
Yeah. I thank you for explaining that, because like I said, you never ever, like, there was times that you and I know that'll be another story for another time, but there was times that, like, in our relationship, I've been transparent on other platforms, like we used to have a kid and break up for a period and then get right back together, have a kid and break up. And that kind of was our cycle. But even in those cycles of that, you never stop caring for Lisa.
Right. That's my child.
Right.
That was my child. I did things and seen things turn in Lisa's life because I was there. Like I told you, she learned how to count. I told her how to count to 20.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hugged her. You know, we wasn't together. I was still at the school. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how's she doing in class? You know, all right, what's going on? How's her bus ride? Is the bus ride fine? If not, I could be the bus monitor.
Mm-hmm.
I'll volunteer. Whatever it was, I was making sure I was there. The same with my kids. But you don't never stop being a father.
Right.
I don't care what's going on. Right now, if we had a debate or argument and it got heavy, I'm still a husband, number one. I'm still a father. You don't forget your role. You don't stop forgetting your role.
I think that that's the big part, Antoine, is that most men, they are not taking their role serious. And so whether or not they were born with fathers in their homes, fatherless homes or not, they just don't take that role. They don't own that role. Mm. And I think that for you own that. Like you took ownership in that, and knowing that I am a part of this. This is who I am. And it was funny, but I'm trying to think of a time, like, because we had moments. I'm trying to think of a time where you left her out and you didn't leave her out. You know what I mean?
So I want to talk to the man real quick. So the thing about it is that the problem with us is that we are afraid of making mistakes, and we're afraid of being less than what our abilities give us. The best thing that we can do is make the mistake. The reason why is because we learn from the mistake. I made many mistakes. I took Lisa out to dinner one time, and her mom was at school and bought Lisa a whole grown meal. Fish fry, French fry, and a cheeseburger. Lisa was 2. You're gonna make mistakes, bro. And that's
I was so mad.
that's the thing. You gotta parent together. That it's not gonna work. Your household's not gonna work. But we parent different. And like, you parent how you learn. You parent, like, what would you want your dad to do for you? Right. If your dad wasn't in your household, what would you want him to do with you? Right. I know I just want my dad to play with me, hug me, love me, and do homework and discipline me. Yeah. So those are the things. Even though I never hit Lisa still knew that if it was time, you had time out, you would say that's different ways you could discipline your children. You just gotta be creative. But we don't. Your mistakes is for your glory. You could get the glory out of your mistakes. You'll make mistakes, but don't ever think that you're not important. You're important into your kids' lives. You're important to your baby mother's life. You're important to your mother's life. It was so many mistakes I made by when me and my wife broke up that I should have been better in. And looking back at it now, if I only took a little bit more of an effort of doing just some things differently, then our relationship would have been better in our beginning of our marriage because we wouldn't have had to deal with it at the beginning of our marriage. If I was to talk to any man or any father, any stepdad, any baby daddy or whatever, you're important.
Thank you for sharing that encouragement, A. As you was talking, I thought about one thing and I wanted to ask you, do you think that pride and ego plays a part in it? Because
Yeah.
I know so many men, and men come up to you all the time, every time we're out, and they're like, man, no, how do you do it? And it's like, I think it's a pride
It's a
thing.
pride thing. We're taught to be the breadwinner. We go to work and come home, we're expecting the woman to cook, clean, take care of the kids, to do all this other stuff. Bro, that's a myth. That's a myth. That's your ego and pride. Whoever told you that, it's a lie. You went to work. You ain't had to deal with your household. I know that you're tired, but you got to put in a tad bit more effort, regardless of what you say, regardless who told you that. I don't care how much money you make. You could be a millionaire. You ain't dealing with them kids. You ain't dealing with making dinner. You ain't dealing with bottles and all that other stuff. You ain't dealing with waking up in the middle of the night. You got to put a tad bit more effort. If not, your marriage is going to deplete. And then you're going to be thinking like, this is the ego thing. You thinking like, what's her problem when it ain't her problem, it's your problem. Because you ain't just giving up a little bit more of an effort. Now, the other thing with women, you got to have communication. So you got to sit down and explain to your husband, like, I know you went to work all day, but I need an hour break.
Yeah.
You're not telling him until you're burned out. And
Right.
that don't make sense.
Right.
That don't make, because now he might be too deep into his routine, coming home, doing what he do, and then getting ready to go to bed. And then next thing you know, once you burn out, you saying that you did delivery is wrong. You guys got to nurture each other, But bro, to all the men, just a tad bit more effort. That's it.
Thank you for saying that. One more question. I know I keep saying one more question, but do you feel like when it comes to taking care of another man's child, many men don't do it or don't do it in a way that you did it? I mean, because you took care of her everything. You paid my rent, you paid my car note, you made sure daycare was paid, you made sure everything was paid. If we needed food, you was there. You paid the light bill. Did I say that already? You paid the light bill. I mean, you did all of that. I mean, within a matter of weeks of meeting me and weeks of meeting me and Lisa. So I say, like, why do you think most men say they don't want to do it? I think that and this is just from a woman's perspective, is pride. Because I heard it before. I heard men say, and like cousins and stuff like that, I ain't taking care of another child. That's his child.
That's not pride. That's different. Well,
Language.
I'm all right.
Nah, it's okay. We talk like this, y'all. Yes, we Christians, and yes, we say some stuff sometimes. Like,
all right, first off, I'm not saying that you should just jump in and do it. I'm not saying that. Just what I did. Money at that time, money wasn't a thing. What I would say is that if you laying in this woman's bed and you with this woman, 'cause I'm thinking about my daughters. If my daughters was going through this, if you laying in my daughter's bed, you laying in a woman's bed, and it's kids there, and you eating, you chilling there, you ain't saying nothing to the kid. That don't make no sense. Especially if you're a good dude. Now, if you were a cornball, this and the third, first of all, you shouldn't be there. That's the woman's fault. But at the same time, you there? That don't make sense to me. It don't make sense. You can be on the block and give some kids some candy and stuff, but this woman's kid you see every day, you don't say nothing to. That don't make sense. But I think like it is pride, but I do think it's some S stuff.
yeah.
Like you don't be around no kids, God, and don't say nothing.
Right. I mean, I've seen men that like seen kids. Like I tried not to, even when we was like separated, like, and I would meet somebody, like no one ever met our kids, right? But
that's the number one thing, though. You shouldn't meet.
Right.
Nobody should. I'm not saying that it happens, but I'm not.
That shouldn't be a priority. Like let him meet my kids.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's not.
But I heard men say before, like, man, her kids, I don't care about her kids. Like, they ain't worried about feeding the kids. They ain't worried about getting the kids some McDonald's. They don't care about that.
But that's different. That means they're not gonna be there long.
You be surprised that them be the guys who be there long, still feeling like that.
Well, it's a problem. They're the problem, but it's also the parent, the mom too.
Right, for allowing that to happen. You allowing that mediocrity.
That's not even mediocrity. That's below.
You're absolutely right.
That's like you got kids in here. The kids ain't got nothing to do with your situation.
Right.
So they already, dad ain't even there. So you a man in there. So you teaching a whole generation, the next generation, to act like you. That's the mom's problem, but it's also you as being a man. Yeah. You're not no man. You're a little boy. We talking about another generation. It takes a village to raise a kid. At least his father wasn't around. Let's just keep it 100. He wasn't around, and that's the reason why I stepped in and did the role that I was.
Right.
It really that boosted everything up. If he was coming to kick his kid every weekend, then maybe it wouldn't have been my thought to say, hey, I gotta go get snow. They said that she need a snow pants and snow coat, and you ain't got the money. So if he knew, maybe he should have went and bought it. Right. I went to the store and got it.
Right.
She need crayons for school. I'm going to get crayons. Oh, she need to get picked up. Somebody need to read at her school. I'm going to read at the school. To me, I feel like it's a no-brainer. Right. It's a no-brainer. I'm not saying you got to take on the full role, but you have to be an active participant if you laying in this girl's house.
So you jumped into it and you ain't even know what this was gonna be. Like, just keep it 100. You ain't know that this was gonna turn into a 15-year relationship. Like, you was doing stuff 2 weeks in. Like, I was in school a lot, so I had to bite the bullet.
Kids ain't got nothing to do with what I'm doing.
Antwan, that's just weird. It's not weird, but it's foreign. I want you to know, like, what you did. These men, it's 2025. They're not doing it, but I'm looking back at it, and I don't know a man that I'm like, yeah, he'll do that. I don't know. Men are not doing that. You did it, and how did you even know we was gonna be something?
My best friend Muslim. One of my best friends is Muslim. When it comes to kids, they're around kids, they treat kids the same way they treat theirs.
Could you tell me, what did being a Muslim have to do with it?
Because that's what I'm around. So it was like kind of in store. They're telling me, like, they're showing. Some men don't do shit. I wasn't around them men. So I never really seen, besides my father, my mother, boyfriends, I never seen no nigga be in somebody's house and not care about no kid. Right. Despite how they treated the woman. But when it came to them kids, I ain't saying they gave the kid money, this and a third, but they was nice to them kids.
Yeah.
My niceness is different from my friend niceness. Yo, what up? They get hugs. Yo, you need something from the store? Boom, 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 boom. My niceness, I'm paying them bills. I'm making sure I'm showing up at school. I'm doing everything that I would want my father to do to me. His father was in his life. My father wasn't. So when I see a kid and I'm dealing with you, that means I'm stepping into a role of I'm doing what I wanted my dad to do. So self-conscious was just like,
wow, that was deep, man. I guess I must have just, it was God, but it was like the jackpot. Yeah, you know what I mean? But I know it was God.
Yeah, it wasn't like, it was. It's numerous incidents when Lisa was at the other school that I showed up. You couldn't get there. You didn't even know I showed up. Mm-hmm. So
teachers would call me though, because she, after a while, the poor teacher, she was like that. We was on a break at this time, and Lisa was in the school, and he worked at the sister school, and this teacher knew him, and he would always show up. Lisa was in kindergarten. He always would show up. And then she called me because I guess she probably was like, this is weird. Who is this man? Like, who is he? And then I was just like, oh, and she was like, he's always around. And I was like, he's always calling and he sees her a lot. So we just need to know, do we need to protect her from this man? And I was like, no, she's good. I'm sorry. I ain't put you on the emergency card because
I had to be. I talked to the principal. I went and had a conversation with the principal. I'm coming down here, Lisa. That's mine. I'll be down there today. Oh, Mr. Henry, we good. You go down there. It should. I don't know. Take a village to raise a kid.
Right.
Bottom line, it didn't matter if, and I think it still wouldn't have mattered if he came every weekend anyway. My thing is, I'm stepping into this role. It's not her fault why she is in this relationship. She is in this family.
Right.
So it's my job to be the best example I could be, regardless of how I was outside of the home. But in that home, I'm not gonna be, you know what I mean? Like, you got to try your best. You know, like I wasn't the best man. I wasn't the best man to you at that time, but I tried my best. But at the same time, it's no excuse for how Lisa should be treated.
Right. Well, I want to again thank you, A, for being. I have to say you one of the best men I ever met in my life. So I want to say thank you. I want to thank you for showing up. You know, even in capacities where you weren't able to be your healthiest self, like you still showed up. And I'm just thinking about throughout the last 15 years, like from the moment that you met Lisa in 2010, you never like was like deuces, like I'm not gonna, she's not mine. I'm gonna diss her. So I thank you. I thank you for taking the responsibility that I didn't inflict on you. I didn't impose it on you. But you saw a missing piece and
Yeah.
you became you fit you was that you fit right into it. And for 15 years you've never ever deviated from it. I mean, I remember when you was paying child support, you would give extra money and you was like, this for Lisa. And I was just like, thank you. But I thank you.
It take a lot of, to all the fathers and stepfathers out there, I praise y'all. Or everybody that's coming to take care of their kids, I praise y'all. If nobody else is praising y'all, I praise y'all. It take a lot of guts, man parts, to go in there and step into that role. Because at any given moment, you could be shut down. You could never see the kid again. It's so many different moving parts that could happen. And I just want y'all to understand, like, I praise y'all, because it been times I stayed up worrying about my kids, but worrying about Lisa. The reason why is that Lisa is the oldest and she sees the most, and she's been through the most. And I thank Lisa too. You know, we got to thank Lisa. She is so strong during this time. She also is a gem. She made me be a better father.
Yeah.
She gave me, God gave me the grace to be a father to her, and she did it, and she had never ever not had open arms.
Right.
So I thank you for having her and being her mother.
We're not about to cry, but
you was overprotected, but you let down so I could relinquish and be the person I needed to be. So I thank you too.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
You want to go?
No, I want to leave with this, you guys. I do want to thank everybody who has commented. I know that
thank you too.
Yeah, this was a much needed conversation that we had. I pray that you gained some insight on it, and if you didn't, that's okay. I pray that you leave today knowing your worth, that you know, like if you're a mother or if you're a stepfather, if you're a father watching this, I pray that you know your worth. Like,
Amen.
and I pray that if God gives you the opportunity or the privilege to be in a child's life, that's a sacred life. If God gives you that opportunity to do that, even if the child is not yours, I pray that you would take that responsibility, that you would take it and you would take it fully with your heart, that you don't take it for granted, that you don't be the type of person that will go into a child's life and leave a child's life, because at the end of the day, you don't just leave that parent or that mother or that father, you leave that child. Right. And so from your perspective at that moment, Lisa was already left by her biological father. Yes, she still has a relationship with him. Yes. Could it be better? Absolutely. But I thank you for never like leaving her. So I want you guys to be encouraged that if you have that opportunity to step in, don't be prideful about it. Don't think like, nah, that ain't my child. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village, and be the village. Be the village. I thank you for this time. I know this was a good long video. It was deep. It was a much needed video. I pray that you guys continue to meet us on Patreon, where we can have more of these kind of conversations, where we would really go into deep in depth with you guys, and share like exclusive content that's not seen on any other platform. You can go to patreon.com/the Henry family. Until next time.
Peace.